Hi, Nick here, and we're back for part 2 of my lesson on Million Years Ago by Adele. In part 1, we looked at how you play through the song. We looked at the intro, the verse, and the chorus progressions, talked about how to play the chords, and we also worked on a kind of a jazzy rhythm comping with our right hand. Now, I encourage you to use your fingers to play the chords in that part 1 of the lesson, and if you did that, then you're going to have your fingers in the right place for the finger picking pattern that we're going to do now in part 2. Okay, so with that, let's look at the finger picking pattern for Million Years Ago. Okay, I'm going to turn my guitar at an angle now so that you can see what I'm doing with my right hand a little bit better. Okay, so starting off with the intro, that's actually going to be the same as we saw in part 1. There's no finger picking pattern. We're just playing the block chords and playing all the notes at once, and of course using our right hand to do that with the fingers. We looked at the string assignments in part 1, so I'm not going to go over those again here. Just remember on that G sharp minor 7 chord that it's only 3 notes. But the rest of them are 4, just using thumb, index, middle, and ring. Okay, so that's pretty much the same, or exactly the same as we saw in part 1. No difference there. But then when we start the verse, that's when we start the picking pattern. Now the picking pattern is going to be the same throughout the verse, except for the different endings, the first and second ending that we have. And of course the verse and the chorus are very similar, so it's going to be pretty much the same thing for the chorus. It will have the same picking pattern, except that it'll be a little bit different for the endings. So let's start off with F sharp minor 7 here. That's our first chord of the verse. And our picking pattern on our right hand is going to be thumb, middle, index, ring, middle, index, middle. Now that pattern on the right hand is going to be the same pretty much throughout, other than the endings, except the strings will change, but the picking order with your fingers will be the same. It'll be thumb, middle, index, ring, middle, index, middle, okay? The rhythm is going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we have eighth notes, 1 and 2 and, that's a quarter note, and then back to eighth notes, and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's the pattern here. Of course, you know, with the string picking pattern, it's going to be 6, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 3, right? For that F sharp minor 7. Okay, so that is the picking pattern. Now, the pattern changes only in the strings that you're on with your right hand. For example, with this B7 chord now, our fingers are going to be on the right hand. Thumb is on the 5th string, index on 4, middle on 3, and ring finger on the 2nd string. So it's going to be thumb, middle, index, ring, middle, index, middle. Same rhythm as well. Of course, the strings are different. Now it's 5, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 3. But essentially the pattern is the same. Again, with the E major 7 chord, now we have our fingers with the thumb on the 4th string, index on the 3rd, middle on the 2nd, ring finger on the 1st string. But it will be, again, the same pattern. Thumb, middle, index, ring, middle, index, middle. Okay? So you can see that's going to be the pattern throughout until we get to the endings, which are a little different. Okay, so let's play through the verse now with this pattern. And when we get to the first ending, the picking pattern is a little bit different, and I'll go through that when we get there. So we start off with F sharp minor 7, B7, E major 7, A add 9, F sharp minor 7, G sharp dominant 7. Okay, so we were using that same pattern for all of those chords, though of course it would be different strings depending on the chord voicing. Like for example here, G sharp dominant 7, it's the same strings as with F sharp minor 7. And that A add 9, that was the same strings with the B7, same group of strings. Okay, so that brings us to the first ending of the verse, which is going to be the same as the first and second endings of the chorus as well. Now in part 1, we looked at these pretty commonly used 5th string root bar chord voicings for C sharp minor 7 and C sharp dominant 7. And I think we can use those here. In fact, they sound good, and you may just want to stick with these voicings. But we'll also look at a couple alternatives that you could use. Now the picking pattern we're going to have for this first bar of C sharp minor 7, it's the same as that we've been using up to this point. So it'll be thumb, middle, index, ring, middle, index, middle. And then we have the bar with 2 beats of C sharp minor 7 and 2 beats of C sharp dominant 7. So for that bar, a little bit different. It's going to be thumb, middle, ring, middle, and then we're going to put our pinky on for the dominant 7. Same thing, thumb, middle, ring, middle. String wise for that bar, it's going to be 5, 3, 2, 3, 5, 3, 2, 3, and those are just straight eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So the first ending with the picking pattern would go like this. And we're using these same chord voicings that we used in part 1. They're fine, and if you like the way they sound and you like playing them that way, then you can continue to use them. But I did want to show you a couple of alternatives and also something that they do on the album that's a little different. Sounds a little bit dissonant, so you may or may not want to use it. But let's go through them now. The first thing you can do when you get to that second bar of the first ending, where you have to go from the minor 7 to dominant 7, you might want to refinger that. I find it a little bit easier to play this way. And what we have is an abbreviated voicing of C sharp minor 7, and then how you play that is third finger on the second string, 5th fret, second finger on the third string, 4th fret, index finger on the 5th string at the 4th fret, and you can use fleshy part of your index finger to mute the 4th string because we don't need it for that second bar. So that's C sharp minor 7, and when you go to the dominant 7, all you need to do is add your pinky onto the second string at the 6th fret. So with your right hand, you can either keep the same string assignment with thumb on 5 and middle on 3, ring on 2, but I sometimes will switch with thumb on 5, index on 3, and middle on 2. And I find that it just kind of is a little bit easier for me to play that way for some reason. Okay, so a quick recap. We can use these shapes that we saw in part 1 to play through the first ending on the verse. Or for that second bar, we could also use these abbreviated shapes for C sharp minor 7 and C sharp dominant 7. Okay, so it's going to sound pretty much the same. It's just whatever works for you, I think, is what you want to use. What they do on the album is a little bit different, and you may or may not want to play it this way depending on how it sounds to you, especially if you're trying to sing and play it at the same time. They have on that second bar 2 beats of C sharp minor 7, which is the same, and then they go to C sharp dominant 7, but they put B in the bass, which sounds really dissonant, and the notes mixed down a little bit, so it's not too in your face, but it's meant to create tension for when you resolve back to the F sharp minor chord. However, it's kind of a loud chord, quote unquote, in terms of the harmony. And it's also kind of hard to grab like this. So what I do is I revoice it and I play the first ending like this. Okay, so what we do is we have a note here. You can use second or third finger, I think will work, or even the first finger, just whatever's comfortable for you. We're playing the 5th string at the 4th fret, and then the 1st and 2nd strings are open. And then on your right hand, I think you could use either thumb for the 5th string and index and middle for the 2nd and 1st strings respectively, but I tend to use middle and ring fingers. So the strings would be 5, 2, 1, 2, and the fingers that I use would be thumb, middle, ring, middle. Okay, then we go to this chord here, the C sharp dominant 7 with B in the bass. First finger on the 1st string, 1st fret, 2nd string is open, and let's use our 2nd finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret. So it'll be same pattern, strings 5, 2, 1, 2, and again I'm using thumb, middle, ring, middle. Okay, so that's the last bar of that first ending there. And also when you play this chord here, you got your 2nd finger in the bass. That does make it a little easier to transition back to the F sharp minor 7 for when you play through that verse progression the second time. Okay, so again, this way of playing that first ending. Okay, for the second ending to the verse, we're also going to have a couple different options of how we play it. But the picking pattern will be the same with the right hand. We can use these chord shapes that we saw in part 1. Remember, we have this progression with bar of C sharp minor 7, and then bar with 2 beats of B, 2 beats of A add 9. We play through that 3 times, and then we have 2 bars of G sharp dominant 7. And the picking pattern with our right hand, we're going to play strings 5, 3, 2, 5, 3, 2, 5, 3 for C sharp minor 7. Then for B, it's going to be 5, 3, 2, 3. Same for A add 9, 5, 3, 2, 3. Okay? And the rhythm for that part is straight 8th notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and in terms of what fingers we use on the right hand, thumb gets the bass, and I think you can either use your middle finger and ring finger to get the 3rd and 2nd strings respectively, or you could use your index and middle to get the 3rd and 2nd strings there. So whatever is comfortable for you. So that would be, again. Okay, and then after we play through that progression, those 2 bars 3 times, we have 2 bars of G sharp dominant 7. And again, we're using this shape, I think, rather than the full bar chord. This one is, to me, a little bit better to use. And we're going to play strings 6, 4, and then the 3rd and 2nd strings at the same time. Then we do that again, 6, 4, 2 and 3, and then we play 6, 4. So right hand fingers, that's going to be thumb, index, middle and ring, thumb, index, middle and ring, thumb, index. So those 2 bars of G sharp dominant 7 will go like this. Okay, same pattern for both bars. So the second ending to the verse Now, what I want to do is show you an alternative way that you can finger these 3 chords here. You'll notice with the picking pattern that we're not using the 4th string, so we can play voicings that leave that string out. Now, we looked at this shape here just a second ago for C sharp minor 7, and I think you can use that abbreviated voicing especially the first time that you play through this progression. Okay, then you can go to B major, and the abbreviated voicing here, we have our first finger on the 5th string on the 2nd fret. Fleshy part mutes the 4th string because we're not using it. 3rd finger on the 3rd string, 4th fret, pinky on the 2nd string, 4th fret. Okay, same pattern. On the right hand, same picking pattern. And then our abbreviated voicing for A add 9, we don't need that 4th string note, so we just have 5th string open, 3rd string on the 4th fret with our 3rd finger, and 2nd string on the 2nd fret with our 1st finger, same picking pattern. And with these abbreviated voicings on the right hand, I like to use thumb, index, and middle to get strings 5, 3, and 2 respectively. So you can start off and then when I repeat those measures going back to the C sharp minor 7, I like to use this fingering, which is a little bit different. We have 2nd finger in the bass now on the 5th string at the 4th fret, 3rd finger on the 3rd string, 4th fret, and pinky on the 2nd string at the 5th fret. So, and I like to use this when I'm cycling through it because it's easy to transition to that B major chord, right? 3rd finger actually stays in the same place for both voicings, so that makes the transition a little bit easier. And then of course 3rd finger again, same place for that A add 9. So using these alternative chord voicings, so now I'm going to play through the entire verse with the finger picking pattern. Okay, so that's how you play through the verse with the finger picking pattern. And the chorus is going to be pretty much just the same. Remember, it's going to be the same chords, and we're going to use the same picking pattern. Now the chorus, the first two endings are the same as the first ending from the verse. And the third ending, just as we saw before, is the intro figure played twice. And that's the chorus. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play through the chorus now with the picking pattern. One more thing I want to throw in as a bonus is to show you a different chord that you can use at the very end of the chorus. Now the third time through the chorus progression, we have the third ending, which is going to be the intro played twice. And instead of using this shape for C sharp minor 7 on the very last time we play that chord, we're going to use a different voicing. And I think this one sounds a little bit better in terms of fitting in with the melody. Either one will work, but you might want to try this if you're looking for a different flavor. So what we have is this intro progression played twice. So that would be the same, but on the second time, we're going to end it with this other voicing of C sharp minor 7. And again, how you play this chord, you have your first finger is going to be barred across strings 4, 3, and 2 at the 2nd fret. Pinky's going to be on the 3rd string at the 4th fret. Third finger is going to be on the 5th string at the 4th fret, and you're just going to play the middle 4 strings. C sharp minor 7. That's a different voicing of the chord, and I think it sounds good when you end that chorus to have that voicing. First time's the same. Second time, you could use that voicing. So that's just a suggestion. You don't have to do that, but if you like the way it sounds, you can give it a shot. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this lesson on how to play the finger picking part for A Million Years Ago. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.